Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm super excited to have you here today. Talking about a subject that I think is really, really helpful. It's actually in the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now. It's becoming a more normal thing. And that thing is switching to a non-alcoholic lifestyle. And I think that it is an outstanding choice, but it doesn't have to be an end all be all. It doesn't have to be an all in, all out situation either. If you love to have a couple of drinks or a glass of wine, that is totally okay. But if you're wanting to take a step back, if you're wanting to cut it out, it can be really, really impactful and beneficial. I'm going to kind of tell you about my background with it and some things to kind of help you make choices as you go if it's something that you do want to attack. So, first to start it out, like, why did I start with cutting back on alcohol in the first place? So, I won't lie to you, like growing up, like 19 to 26, I really enjoyed my drinks. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of partying. I did all the things, right? All the imaginable college party things, right? It's fine. But after like age 32 to 35, I really found that I could not handle the drinks anymore. It's not that I was a quote unquote lightweight or anything. I mean, I kind of became one, but it was more than that. I just really did not feel good at all when I drank. Like it used to be like a little bit of a hangover in the morning, nothing a little bit of like grease can't fix, but it became a couple of days before I could really feel like myself could function again. And it wasn't even that I was getting drunk the day before or anything like that. It was a few drinks and I would feel like crap for the next 2 days. And it just was not worth it to me anymore. I would wake up with night sweats in the middle of the night, one beer with dinner. I'd wake up with night sweats. I would also wake up with heart palpitations. So it felt like my heart was going to beat out of my chest. And it just made me feel super groggy and slow for the next few days. And it just wasn't worth it anymore for me. So I started cutting it back a lot. And then I just eventually stopped. And really like benefits of stopping alcohol for anyone. According to studies done, including studies done by the NIH, there's been studies done by many, 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 many places, but the NIH is one that I definitely trust. There's been studies done in there that it actually decreases cancer risks and cancer rates, especially with mouth cancers as well as rectal cancers, colon cancers. So that is really, really amazing to know about that just by decreasing or stopping drinking, you can decrease your likelihood of like having cancer in those pieces of you. It can also really help with weight loss. So alcohol has a lot of calories. A lot of alcohol, especially like beers and stuff, they don't have calories or nutrition label on them. Does not mean that they're calorie free, y'all. So they have a lot of calories in them. Not to mention the food choices that we make alongside drinking that can add up to a lot of excess calorie intake, often in the middle of the night. Not really good things to happen. I'll also point out that when you are drinking alcohol, your body treats it as a toxin, so it actually burns through it before it burns through anything else for calories. So what that means is when you're drinking alcohol, that alcohol is being used for your energy production ASAP, and it's saving pretty much anything else that you're eating for future energy. Future energy gets stored in your muscles or as body fat or in your liver. Now, what I want to point out too is unless you've just done a workout, your muscles are probably holding on to the amount of energy that they want to hold on to. Liver might take some up, but a lot of it's going to go to body fat. And then the rest of the alcohol is going to be burnt off. That's why you often start to get really, really hot when you're drinking. And you suddenly, it might be like 10 degrees out and you're walking around in a t-shirt. Like that can happen because of that, because your body's burning through it so quickly. So, poor food choices alongside of it just compound on all those things. Poor sleep leads to weight gain. So if we're getting better sleep, better recovery, we might see that weight loss start to happen as well. And not to mention another thing that's pretty obvious, if you're like going out and partying and have a great time, quote unquote, then you might find that the next day you might skip that workout a little bit easier. You might not go do the movement that you had told yourself you would do because you're hungover or you're tired or groggy or you just don't feel like it. And that just can kind of compound to more and more with less consistency, right? So when we aren't drinking as often or at all, we're more likely to follow through with those promises that we made to ourselves. Um, not to mention it's also going to save you a lot of money to not drink as often or at all. Like, yes, you'll still spend money, especially if you do have like, an NA, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But you'll probably end up saving a lot of money because you might have like two, maybe three NAs instead of, four or six glasses of wine or four or six beers or whatever the case is for who you are. So it will likely end up saving you money. And another really awesome benefit is you're always a really dependable DD. And my husband still enjoys some beers, right? And that's totally fine. He knows that I'm going to drive him home. And it honestly makes me feel better knowing that I'll be behind the wheel. He had the time that he wanted to have and he had the drinks that he wanted to have and we're all getting home safe. Like it really has that built-in effect to just like know that things are going to be okay. So there's that. There is something to kind of think about though. Like I'm in the Midwest, so Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, right? Like all these states, like Nebraska, it's kind of known that you're gonna be drinking. Like everything is surrounded by drinking. You go to a baby shower, there's drinking. You go to a wedding, there's drinking. You go to a football game, there's drinking. Drinking is everywhere, and it is part of the culture. And so, especially if you're in a culture, in a friend group like that, you gotta be prepared for pushback a little bit, at least at first. So be ready for others to give you a hard time, but be ready to not care what they think. It's really the big piece, right? I am so prepared to not give a shit about what our friends think of me drinking or not drinking. Like, we're kind of all to the point where most of them were in our late 30s into our 40s, and they're kind of like, oh, okay, you're not drinking. Perfect, right? Don't care. Like that's fine. And that's the kind of friend group that is so awesome. Like we were playing Presidents and Assholes at the bar the other night, and I was playing with water, right? And it's fine. They don't care anymore. So try to like be ready for them to kind of be like, why aren't you drinking? You'd be like, I really just don't want to anymore. You can tell them the honest truth. I feel like garbage when I drink and I don't want to feel like garbage anymore. I'm too tired to feel like garbage. And a lot of times they will reciprocate that and be like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. And leave you alone about it. Majority of the time, people are not going to care. So I'll also say, like, my husband, I love that man to death. He used to give me a little bit of a hard time about drinking or not drinking, or he'd make a huge deal of it when I did have a beer here and there. And anymore, he's learned to just like not razz me about it at all because it like makes me uncomfortable. And honestly, now he's really like on my side about things. He knows that I just don't feel well when I drink. And he's like, well, you know what? She doesn't drink, so she gets to drive me home and deal with me. Like, and it's great because I have his support now and he kind of puts that boundary up for me too, which is really, really helpful. So if you have someone like that around you, that can be an amazing benefit to utilize as well. Um, and then be ready to stand your ground with people. Just be ready to, handle the pushback, to say no to the shot, to say no thank you to the drink, to, taking whatever back up to the bar that you don't want or putting it down somewhere. Like, it's just where you have to get to if you don't want to feel that way. And honestly, most of the time, people just don't really care anymore after one or two times of you saying no. So there's that. And I think that it's a great breakthrough piece. And one of the other things that's really awesome is more and more at a lot of bars, especially around here, they have a non-alcohol option. And I have been testing those out. And that was my next suggestion is to find a substitution. So water is obviously superior, but water gets pretty boring, especially when they give it to you in the big plastic cup with Coca-Cola on the side and everybody else has a beer can or they have like a rocks glass or whatever. I'm like, can you just give me water in a rocks glass? Like I'm not a 4-year-old. That would be fabulous. But they don't do that and it's fine. But if you can find some substitutions, you will feel like you're more fitting in, like you belong there, and you don't feel like you have to have a drink in order to fit in anymore because maybe you have like a mocktail, maybe you have an NA, and you enjoy one or two of them, and you move on with your life and everything's fine. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have an NA or a mocktail in order to fit in. I do sincerely enjoy the taste of like a light beer. You could tell I'm from the Midwest. And I I absolutely love the taste of it, but I just don't want to drink beer anymore because of what it does to me. Well, some certain things that I've found that I really, really enjoy. I really like Michelob Ultra NAs. This one is totally new that came out. I found out about it a couple of weeks ago and I love it. Tastes just like Michelob Ultra. It's like 29 calories in the can. Um, there is no alcohol in there at all, and at least it says 0.0% alcohol on the side. So, I mean, I am a big fan of that one. I have a case of it, like a 12 pack in my fridge. I might have one or two here and there, like on a Friday or a Saturday. And it makes me just, if we want to have a beer together, I have one of those. Rob has one of his, and it's fine. So I think that that's a really good option. Also, I like another brand called Peak Cocktails, but you can only get it online right now, and they are a little bit pricey, but they have a lot of really good ingredients that actually increase the like calmness and increase better sleep and all of those things. So if you do like kind of like a specialty type flavored drink, that can be a good one that has a lot of added benefits to it. And then I actually, if I'm wanting something sweet, the NA White Claws are not half bad. So I have tried those and don't mind them either. I'm just not usually a White Claw seltzer person. But those are not bad at all. So if you like that type of a flavor, you can totally get those too. The thing about like bar mocktails, like you might find the drink menu and they have like a whole mocktail menu already created where they have all these specialty drinks, but they don't have any alcohol in them. That's great. If you want to have one of those, like be my guest, but I would watch out for them because they are likely packed with a ton of added sugars with all their syrups and all of that stuff in there. So just watch what you're taking in because a lot of times all the processed refined sugars and dyes and syrups and sugars and everything that's in there can add to inflammation in your body and create issues as well. And so it just might not be worth it to have, six or seven of those instead of six or seven of what you'd usually have. So just take that into consideration. If you want to have one, awesome. But I just wouldn't go crazy with them because of the after effects of even those ingredients. Um, Again, not always the case. It's just often the case. Let's see. It is becoming more socially accepted to drink NAs, though. Like people don't even bat an eye. A lot more bars are carrying a lot of variety of them. So that can be a really good option. And it just makes you feel like you fit there, that you have a spot there, that you're not an odd man out drinking your water in the giant plastic Coca-Cola cup. Um, but if you are looking for an NA to kind of drink, because there are a ton, like every beer company is coming out with one of their own, every seltzer company is coming out of one of their own, like everybody's creating these NAs. So before you just go buy them all, like look at the labels and see what works best for you and your lifestyle and your goals. So try to avoid things that have added sugars, try to avoid things that have fake sweeteners. Avoid things that have dyes in them. Avoid things that have excessive high calories. There is no reason to be drinking a non-alcoholic drink that has a crap ton of excess calories in it. There's like zero benefit to that. And look out for things that have sugar alcohols like erythritol in it. They're not going to be beneficial for you to be taking in. So if you can find options that don't have that, that would be all for the better. I will say that I've had maybe five regular beers in the last 2 years, and I haven't had one since like Mother's Day last year. So that's coming up on a year, and I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I still like go out when we go out, which mind you is not often. And I enjoy a couple of the things that I want to have, whether it be one of the options I told you about or just water. And nobody bats an eye. And sometimes we stay out, and sometimes I go dancing, and sometimes it's whatever. You can still be yourself. You don't need to have alcohol to have a good time. So if this is something that you're looking into, something that you're wanting to accomplish, something that you're wanting to feel better about, it's absolutely an option. And it's definitely getting more and more press and more priority with people. So I think that you'd be on the in crowd if you did actually start doing this too. So hopefully this helps. If you have questions, always reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I hope that you find this useful and helpful as always, and I will talk to you on the next episode.